Checking that all of the places are live, and it looks like we're live for tonight's session, which we're going to do. Here it is. So welcome to tonight's session.
Good evening.
There we
just
go.
Checking that all of the
live is live. So welcome to tonight's session. I've got we're going to do, I've come on a little bit early just to get ready for tonight's session. We're going to be looking at sales questions that help you close. So we're really going to focus in on what are some of the things you should be doing in that first conversation you're going to have with a prospect, that first meeting. What are some of the key questions that are going to help you identify that prospect's need, identify how you can help them, and help them see that you can help them. So that's what we're going to look at tonight. We're going to start in just over a couple of minutes' time, and we're going to look at this in detail. And you can, wherever you're watching, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can join in the conversation, ask questions in the chat, and it'll be great to hear your feedback. So I'm just checking all the streams working, waiting for people to join. Some people are joining through event notifications, so the event notifications will kick in shortly and let everybody know they're here. And then we're going to start to look at these questions. We're going to start to look at what are these key things that will help you have a more successful sales call. Now, whilst I'm just doing that and getting that ready, one of the things I want to share with you is that today's session is actually hosted and supported by Oxfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership. I do a lot of training sessions for them. And if you're a business based in Oxfordshire, you have loads of funding and support and programs that you can access. And Oxlep will help you. And on their website, they have a business support tool that you can access, and it'll say this is what you tell them about your business, and it'll identify some of the key support packages, funding, all of that kind of stuff that's available to your business if you're based in Oxfordshire. Now, if you've joined from another region outside of Oxfordshire, there will be a local enterprise partnership in your area too, but Oxlep has geographical boundaries of your business has to be based or operate within Oxfordshire. So really good resources there. So if you want to check that out, you can. And if you've got questions on tonight's session, feel free to ask questions in the chat. Feel free to share any ideas or any thoughts you've got, and we'll happily go through those in the session. So I want it to be as interactive as possible. So feel free to ask as many questions as you want. Wherever you're joining from, your questions will be welcome in the chat. And I can see some people are watching on YouTube, some people are watching on LinkedIn. So it's all about some key sales questions that will help you close. Now, I am not a natural salesperson. I am probably a marketer that's learned to be a salesperson. So for many business owners and many businesses, their approach to selling, marketing and sales is somewhat reluctant. They're not really looking, or they don't choose to do it. Often it's something that becomes a necessary evil in what they do. So I've been in that space, and the reassurance is you get more comfortable as you go through it, as you get used to it. The first, 20 calls and conversations, they feel a bit difficult. And then you just kind of get into a flow and you get into a routine and you almost don't think about it. If you're new to sales conversations, and I mean like first meetings or people ask for a meeting, it's worthwhile preparing with some notes and have some key questions so that you don't lose sight of the conversation. But be very careful that you don't turn into a robot and it looks very much like, so what do you do? And what is that? You don't want it to be robotic. You want it to feel natural and a warm conversation. Hi, Amit, welcome. So you want it to flow nicely. So I'm going to share with you some tips and some questions that will help you if you end up on a sales call and you're not sure how to make it work. And maybe you've done a lot of sales calls, but you feel like something's missing. Something just disconnects. So the first thing to understand is when a prospect or somebody who's interested in what you sell or what you make or what you provide to customers, when you get onto that first call, they are curious and you are eager. And generally those two are a bit of a mismatch, because if you're eager to sell and you don't help the person satisfy their curiosity correctly, you end up with a mismatch, a real mismatch. So what we need to do is really focus in on how do we not only satisfy the prospect's curiosity of, I want to know more, I'm intrigued to know more, this might be relevant to us. We want to provide information that answers the questions, but helps the prospect see the value of our service or our product. So they're curious and we're eager. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing is, if I just launch into, we have a bit of pleasantries, we have some chit chat and talk about the weather or something going on in the world. We do all of that kind of ice-breaking stuff. Then we start to talk. It's really important, and there's a metric somewhere that 70% of the talking time should be the prospect. 70% of the talking time should be the prospect. So if we think about this in the sales conversation you're having, your job as a prime priority is to make sure that the prospect talks more than you do. Why? Because if the prospect sees that you're listening to them, they will see that you understand. One of the key milestones you need to achieve in that call is that the prospect believes you understand their business. And by listening, you will help them see that you understand. So that's one key point. So the balance of conversation be 70% in their court and 30% in our court. So when we open the conversation, we got past the pleasantries, we've got this reference point of understanding that there's 70% of the conversation has got to come from them, or they've got to speak for 70% of the time. That 30% of the time we speak has to clearly and concisely explain how we can help. Now, your product or service will have a million different applications and it will solve a million different challenges. So if I give them vanilla information about how my product or service can help them, vanilla, generic, they won't see the fit. They won't see how this could help them. Or they might see, well, it could work, but it doesn't feel like it's the right fit for us. So what we've got to do is, in that conversation, we've got to use some of our 30% of time, 30% of our time, we've got to use a proportion of that to get our pitch, for want of a word, what we want to sell them out. We've got to use a proportion of that to get our pitch out, our message of this is how we can help you, and this is what it is. And we've got to use a proportion of that to draw out information from the prospect that helps us tailor that pitch to them and helps us understand their business better. So I'm going to give you a few questions that you can use to help you, and I'll explain why they're good questions. You may not use all of these, but I'll give you some good ones, and then you can draw them out. So obviously, you were on a call and somehow they've been curious. So a real simple one is, just out of curiosity, what was it about what I talked about in the email or that made you want to have a look at this in more detail? What was it that sparked your interest? And then they'll say, okay, we're doing this. And so they'll explain from your email, from your message, from the inbound inquiry, what was it that made them inquire. That helps you understand the bit of backstory, as in what was their motivation to inquire. Usually the prospect will give away at that point one of their key challenges. So this is their motivator of the inquiry. There was a key challenge that motivated them to make an inquiry. So, okay, now we know what that motivator is because we've asked what prompted them to inquire. What was it about the message or what have you? Now we've got to find how important that is. So let's say they're struggling to generate new business. Okay, so you're struggling to generate new business. You saw my email, you made an inquiry. Maybe the first thing is, so how are you doing it right now? Yeah, how are you doing things right now? In other words, what does the status quo of their organization look like? So we've identified that they have something's prompted them to know a bit more. And then you're asking them how they're resolving that issue already. And they might say, I don't know. They might say, oh, we're doing this, or we're doing X, we're doing cold calling, we're doing cold email, we're doing Google ads. They'll tell you what they're doing. And is it working well for you? Now, if they answer absolutely yes, yeah, if you ask them, is it working well? So you see the line of questioning we're going, what prompted them on the call? Then, okay, what's next? Okay, and how are you doing that now? So they explain what their current setup is. Then we go one step further. How well is that working? Hi, Ruth from Leamington Spa. So how well is that situation working for them? Real simple. Next one. Next question. They will then explain. And if they say it's absolutely fantastic, that will park that answer. But if they'll say, oh, well, we've got a few challenges. No, it's horrendous. It's not working, or it's all right. So they will give you an answer, and you can follow that question, that answer again. So if they say it's all right, well, what is it that you're looking to improve? What are you trying to achieve that it feels like it's not achieving? If it's all right, if it's awful, it's not working at all. Okay, and how big of a priority is this in the business? But we'll come to that. So it's all right. So that's like, okay, so what do you think could be doing better? What could make it outstanding? Notice we're not talking about us at this point. We're just understanding them. If they say it's amazing, it's awesome, you know, the so many sales, you say, well, okay, that's great. I'm just a bit confused then. Given I help people get sales and clients, where did you see how we could help? Because they're basically telling you everything's working great. So if everything's working great, why do they need you? So that will help identify the real motivation for the call. The middle road, it's all right. It's like, well, okay, what do you think could be working better? And if it's awful, then it's like, okay, so tell me a little bit more about it. So you dig into the details. The key thing of what we're doing with these questions is we're scoping their current situation, how big of a challenge it is, and also learning how big of a priority it is. In other words, what I'm trying to find is, are they a serious buyer, number one? Number two, is this something urgent they need to solve? See, people don't buy, people don't take action unless there's an urgency, a compelling reason to take action. So we're looking for what's their issue and where's the compelling reason to take action. If they say to me, it's working great, actually, it's working fantastic, but there's a few niggles around processing orders, right? Let's say that's what they say. And then I do my pitch and say, well, we can help you make it look even better. And I ignore the challenges of processing orders. I miss the opportunity. So we're using the questions to draw out the prospect's pain point, to draw out the prospect's urgency, and find the prospect's cost of inaction. What do I mean by the cost of inaction? When you're talking to a prospect on a call, you want to find out how big of a problem this is and how urgent it is. And then you want to find out from the prospect how much of a cost this is inflicting on their business. So if they're not getting sales at the right volume, so they're not getting the sales volume, so how are you closing the gap at the moment? If you're not hitting your sales target, or you're missing your sales target from this activity, how are you closing the gap to hit the target? We're not. Okay. And is that not a priority? Is that a priority for you to get to that target? Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, but is that in the next 6 months or the next 12 months? Is it yesterday? Oh, we want it yesterday. Okay. And you're trying to scope out where the urgency is, but the cost of inaction is, so, okay, if you hit your target, so if let's say you're underperforming by 80% at the moment, these are all questions, and I'm just asking questions to help uncover one key thing. So I'm understanding the pain point, I'm understanding their urgency, but now I'm trying to find the cost of inaction. So, okay, if you're under target by 80% a month, is there any indication of what that number is? What is it? 20% under target every month over, say, the next 6 months? What is that? It's £500,000. Wow. Okay. So I bet your FD is really pleased that you're under by £500,000, right? Oh, it's horrendous. We get the management accounts and it's starred that we're under target. Okay. So there's pressure on you to solve this. So I'm establishing where the pain is, where the challenge is, where the pressure is, so that when I get to my time to actually share my pitch and what I can offer, I can actually tailor it to that individual business. So if I've asked the questions about what prompted the call for them, I've asked the questions about how they're doing things right now, what's working, what isn't. I've then tried to find the cost of inaction. And the cost of inaction is what happens if this rolls on for another 12 months. So if they've got a deadline to hit a sales target in the next 3 months, I say, okay, what happens if it doesn't? What do you do then? We don't want to see that. And then I say, okay, what happens if you do hit that target? So what I'm trying to help people see and prospects see is why they should take action. What happens if you don't hit that target? What happens if you do hit that target? And then the killer question, so what's the plan? What's your plan to hit it? And if a client's in difficulty and struggling and doesn't know where to turn, and that's why they prompted the call, they'll say, well, this call's part of that. I'm actually fielding, coming up with ideas, plans. And then you can say, right, okay, so now I've got a position where I understand the prospect was prompted to talk to me about this. The prospects told me a little bit about how they're doing their business at the moment. The prospects told me what's working, what isn't working. The prospects told me it's a priority and told me what happens if it doesn't happen and what happens if it does. And I've asked them about their plan. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat back to them what I've heard. So, fictional customer, prospect, prompted by this, I get it. Okay. You've got a sales challenge at the moment. Things aren't performing the way you want, but it's okay. But you've got this issue with order processing not getting through, or things not getting through to the final order stage. You've been underperforming sales target by 80%. You've got to hit this target by the end of the quarter. And at the moment, you're building that plan to make that happen so that you can hit the target by the end of the quarter. Have I got that right? That's really what you've done. And they'll say, yes. So it's not a trick of the yes, but what you're signaling is, prospect, I've understood what you've said. I've asked questions. I've found out a lot about them. And then I'll also add in, well, if you're performing, so it's a £500,000 gap you've got to find. And at the moment you're building that plan so you can hit that in the next quarter, just to confirm. Okay, well, let me tell you about how I think we could probably help with that. So you're doing all this already. One of the things we can do is put X service around this. If you're looking to kind of hit that 500,000, this is what I'd be doing, and this is how we would approach that. So it's very simple what we've done. We've just mirrored back to them their information and then explained how our service can help them get there. These kind of questions will help you uncover their need and uncover their cost of inaction. In other words, if I do nothing, if I don't solve this, this is what's going to happen. And they've told you that. They've explained to you what the consequences would be of not achieving that target. They've also told you what's not working, so you don't fall into that, you trip yourself up into offering something they're already doing or they've already tried. And this conversation is quite enjoyable for the prospect because they're sharing their thoughts, their ideas, you're listening. And we kind of, as humans, we enjoy, I'm still going, Richard. As humans, we kind of enjoy when people listen to us. So asking some key questions in this way will help uncover the need that you can solve. It will help uncover some of the challenges that you might be facing, they might be facing, so you can tailor what you're going to offer, so you don't offer something they don't need. And you don't emphasize an area of service that's not relevant to them. So you do the whole process of asking questions in the right way to help you understand whether it's a good fit. If it is a good fit, how do you tailor what you're going to put together for them so it's relevant for them? Does that make sense for everybody? Yes, Richard. It's Seddon at 7 again. A little joke. I was live this morning at 7 o'clock and I had a joke and said it was Seddon at 7. And some people took me seriously and said, you're going to call it. But I was just doing it as a little joke. But yes. Anyway, so those key questions will help you uncover their need, uncover their challenges, and tailor your pitch, your proposal, your offer to them of how you can help. Now, that match of eagerness and curiosity will always make you feel like you have to say more and more and more and more and more. But in all honesty, if you listen to your prospect, you understand their needs, the prospect feels valued, feels respected, feels like you've took the time to listen. So then when you come back, your proposal is armed and relevant, whether it be on the call or after the call. Your proposal is relevant to the customer who now sees that this is a good fit because you've tailored it to them, and it's not just an off-the-shelf box and there you go. It's tailored to them. You understand their needs. You understand what they're trying to achieve. And I think that's ever so important. If a prospect feels that you understand their needs, and if a prospect feels that you understand them and you've listened to them, that's half the battle. Now, for you, this conversation where you're eager to say, look how amazing we are and how wonderful we are, is you've got the benefit of building some common ground with the prospect. You've understood them better. So your pitch is sharper. Whatever you're going to present, your proposal is sharper. And they see your pitch and proposal as more relevant So when they get on a call with somebody else who just says, we do this, guess what? They see you as the more bespoke, more relevant service who understands them better, understands their needs, and so they will have more confidence in what you've proposed. So still very, very simple stuff to do. And actually, the first few times you do it, you'll feel a bit strange. But after a few times, when you start asking questions, it'll feel really natural, really relaxed, and really easy to do. So these are some of the key questions. Ask them what prompted them to arrange the call or make the inquiry. So they give you a little bit of backstory. On that backstory, ask them, and how are they doing that? How is it working? What's happening in the background? Is it working for you, what you're trying to achieve? Probe a little bit more, in other words. Then you go one step deeper, and hopefully by this point, they've revealed part of their challenge, which you can ask for a little bit more information. Then you start to find, and you're looking to ask questions to find the cost of inaction. How much is this challenge costing them right now to stay where they are? What's the missed opportunity they've got? How much of a priority and over what period? And what's their plan? Now, if you want to be really smart, you can ask, and what have you tried so far to fix it? What have you tried so far to address this? So if they're underperforming by 80%, what have you tried already to try and fix it? That makes sense? Hopefully it makes sense. So put those together, have a little question sheet, write them down. Don't go robotic through them, because the client might reveal in the first sentence what their issue is. Some people might reveal it on the fifth or sixth question. So it's really important you get to that point of understanding what their need is and how urgent it is, how expensive it is, and then you can tailor it. You can tailor what you're going to propose, not just in terms of, oh, I think it should be this, but when you mirror back to them and share back to them, you can actually say, well, if you're looking to achieve this bit here, whilst we do all this other stuff, this is the bit I'm going to talk about really, because I think this is where the value is for you. Over here, that's all wonderful, the bells and whistles, but actually this is the big win here for you. And then I'd explain those areas. So very, very simple stuff, but actually you'll find that these questions are really useful. Now, when it comes to following that back up on a proposal or an email, here's a really good tip. I have a formula that I use on my emails where I have a backstory section. So there's no big waffly paragraphs. I break it down into little sections. So I have a, hi, Dean, thanks for your time yesterday. I've summarized some of our conversation below. I then have a backstory section where I just say a bit of a summary of the questions that they answered about their challenge, their issue, their priorities, some of the things they tried before. It's costing you roughly £500,000 a quarter to let this issue roll on. Put those bullet points in. Then I show, this is how I think we can help you. And it's not a pitch of your service. It's, we can do this to achieve this. We can do this to achieve this. We can do this to achieve this. So we can help you improve your close rate. We can help you get more leads through the door. We can help you do this to do this. So in other words, you're answering how you fix those problems above. And then below that, you give them more detailed information about the service. Again, short, sweet bullet points, the cost. And then I'd love to take credit for this next bit, but it wasn't me. So this next bit, and let me just have a look and see if I can share screens. Sorry, a minute. I want to share the screen so you can see this, because this is really useful. Let me find it, because it'll be really useful for you to see this, and maybe I can. Here we go. So let me share my screen. So hopefully you can see this. I'm going to zoom in on it, so it'll hopefully zoom in a little bit. Right, so you see here how we can help, services we offer. Oh, that's not the one. Sorry, I brought the wrong one up. Bear with me. So I have them saved as a template. So here it is. So thanks so much for your time. Quick summary, what we talked about. How I think we can help, identify the pain points, build a clear message. So these are key points of how we can help. How we could achieve that, service offered exactly. And then these two lines are brilliant. These two lines here are world changing. You use these two lines and you'll find that you get a massively better response to your proposals and to your emails. And it's, does that cover everything we discussed? And did I miss anything? And guess what? Most people go, yes, Dean, that covered everything. Thank you. Or they say, oh, no, you missed out this bit. And I go back and say, oh, good point. I apologize. Put it in and tailor it. And so what they're doing is they're giving you instant feedback on your proposal. So literally those two lines in your proposal, notice what I've done in the proposal or email I send back. I've mirrored back to them what we talked about. The things they said about the pains, the cost of inaction, what they tried, what their current plan was, how much it was going to hurt them if they didn't take action to do it. I then put how I think we can help them solve those things. And then I describe the service that we deliver for it. And then I put those last two questions, which will help you gauge whether you hit the right notes to deliver the value. So if anybody wants the template for that, I'm more than happy to share it. Just drop me an email of the structure. It's dead simple to do because you're basically mirroring back the call to them. So it's useful for you and it's useful for the client, because now the client sees this proposal is exactly what we talked about. It's what resonates with us because we discussed it. And so you haven't got a vanilla proposal because you've used the sales call to learn about the client before you pitch your services. And that's why letting the client, the prospect, speak for 70% of the time will make the biggest impact on what you're trying to achieve. So let them speak, ask questions, open-ended questions, keep them low key, keep it relaxed. It's not an interview, it's not an interrogation, but it will help you tailor your sales pitch. And as a result, people will close and decide to go with you more because they believe you understand them, because you've taken the time to listen, because you've tailored your proposal to them. And you might not tailor the proposal per se. It might be that what you're doing is your service has, lots of different elements, and all you've done is focused in on the element that's most relevant to them. And you've ignored maybe 50, 60, 70% of what your service can do because it's not really a priority for them. Remember, we've all had this experience where we've talked to somebody and we've said one little thing that was just a slip of the tongue, maybe, that somebody's latched onto and it's stuck with them. And so this whole process of doing a call in this way is so that you can learn what that one thing that they're going to latch onto is and make sure that what you say is the right thing. So I've had examples where I've been sat with somebody and I say something, and for the rest of the meeting, that one throwaway sentence is the thing that's stuck in the meeting. But it was just a tiny little thing, but it becomes a major deal, or it becomes the primary focus because somebody latches onto it. In this scenario, because you're asking the questions, you can make sure when you say that, the things that you say are the most relevant. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I can't see your username, sorry. Username, I clicked on this because Dean notified me Dean had gone live, ended up picking up some great content. Thanks, Dean. I don't know who you are because it's hidden your identity, but I really appreciate the comment. So this will obviously be up. So I've gone through a lot in like 35, just over 35 minutes. If there's any questions or anybody want any specific examples, please put them in the chat wherever you are. They come through to me centrally on the broadcast platform I'm on. So I'll come back and answer questions if you like. If it's a quiet group, I'm more than happy to sign off and leave you be. But yeah, the questions you ask and that proposal template will just help you no end to make sure that what you propose to prospects is relevant, it resonates, and it's focused on their needs so that you don't end up misjudging it. And you could have the most amazing service that would do wonders for them, and you just miss them because you didn't really see it. Awesome. Thanks, Sajid. Look, I appreciate your time. If there's no questions, I'll sign off and say thank you so much for joining. Don't forget, if you're based in Oxfordshire, you can use the business support tool on Oxlep's website, and it will show you the support packages and funding and opportunities that are available to you for your business to grow in Oxfordshire. If you're not in Oxfordshire, if you're somewhere else in the UK, you can access those packages maybe through your own local enterprise partnership. But if you're in Oxfordshire, check out the website. That I do. I've got another one of these sessions next week as well. So I'll be putting more and more stuff out just to help you, get you going. But there is loads of support on Oxlep's website. So thank you for joining me tonight. And